we dive straight into the shadows of Arrakis, right into the absolute dark aftermath of a catastrophic betrayal. I mean, the Harkonnen operation happened overnight. Literally zero warning, no formal declaration of war, nothing. By the time the sun came up, House Atreides was just wiped out. They all died in the dark. But crucially, two high-value targets actually slipped through their fingers, Paul Atreides and his mother Jessica. And now, they're forced to flee deep into the merciless open sands of the desert just to escape the hunting parties. And as they're traversing this totally hostile environment, the heavy political reality of their situation really starts to set in. You see, the Emperor said absolutely nothing when House Atreides fell. Guided purely by the cold calculus of power, he effectively just let the Harkonnens do his dirty work. And Paul, he's grappling with this brutal truth. He realizes that his own father's inaction, his belief in the rules of the heart, was actually a fatal flaw. This sparks an intense, burning desire for revenge within Paul. And he's not just targeting the Harkonnens, he's aiming right at the very top of the imperial hierarchy, because he recognizes that ultimate control of the universe hinges on exactly one thing: the spice. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast in how these two sides try to survive. The Harkonnens, led by Rabban, rely entirely on brute force and heavy military tech. They're out there relentlessly hunting the survivors, who they dismissively just call rats, thinking they can control the whole planet through sheer repression alone. But, as Paul quickly discovers, out in the deep desert, technology completely fails. Only the Fremen, the native people of Arrakis, can truly survive out there in the open sands. The Harkonnen patrols are just completely out of their depth in a land they don't understand at all. So when Paul and Jessica finally make it to a Fremen tribe at Sietch Tabr, they don't find this unified, single-minded group. Actually, it's the exact opposite. We see a really intense ideological split. On one hand, you've got leaders like Stilgar, who genuinely see signs of the prophesied Lisan el Gaib, a messiah from the outer world who's destined to lead them to a green paradise. But then on the other side, fierce younger warriors like Chani immediately reject the whole thing. And she hits the nail on the head. She correctly identifies it as implanted Bene Gesserit propaganda, a myth deliberately seeded centuries ago by the Sisterhood for the sole purpose of controlling the vulnerable southern tribes. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates just how the Bene Gesserit manipulate entire cultures. Jessica realizes they need protection, so she ruthlessly weaponizes those exact beliefs. To secure their place, she undergoes this absolutely terrifying lethal ritual. She drinks the water of life, which is this incredibly toxic poison extracted directly from a sandworm. By using her advanced Bene Gesserit training, she actually transmutes the poison and survives, even while pregnant, by the way. This completely solidifies her supreme power as a Reverend Mother. And her new mission? Covertly convert the non-believers, one by one, starting with the most vulnerable. Now, while Jessica is busy manipulating things from the shadows, Paul takes a very different path. Unlike his mother, he initially completely rejects that Messiah title. He just wants to be a sincere, everyday Fremen fighter. And he actually proves it. He masters the erratic sandwalk so he doesn't attract sandworms, earns his place among the fighters, and claims his new war name, Mu'aid Dib, the desert mouse that creates its own water. Then comes the ultimate test of Fremen acceptance. He successfully calls and rides a massive grandfather sandworm. It's a huge moment, cementing his place in the tribe not by some royal blood, but by truly mastering the ways of the desert. This integration leads to a massive, game-changing reunion. As Muad'Dib leads attacks on spice production in the north, he unexpectedly runs into Gurney Halleck, the loyal Atreides survivor who's been operating as a smuggler. Well, Gurney leads Paul to a massive secret: his family's hidden atomic arsenal. We're talking 92 original Atreides warheads, perfectly preserved. This is where Paul realizes a truly terrifying strategic truth. If he aims these atomics at the main spice fields, well, he who holds the power to completely annihilate the spice holds ultimate control over Arrakis, and by extension, the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, Muad'Dib's relentless desert strikes are just devastating Harkonnen operations left and right. It's completely humiliating the current governor, Rabban. The Baron sees this epic failure and decides to step in, elevating his youngest nephew, Feyd-Rautha, to go tame the planet. We get introduced to Feyd-Rautha on Giedi Prime in this brutal gladiatorial arena for his birthday. And wow, he is psychotic. He's incredibly cruel, completely obsessed with pain, making him a terrifying new adversary deployed specifically to wipe out the Fremen demon. But here's the thing. Feyd-Rautha is way more than just a vicious fighter. He's a crucial piece on a much larger board. The Bene Gesserit recognize that Paul Atreides might still be alive and actively disrupting their plans, so they step in to test Feyd-Rautha's vulnerabilities. Lady Margot Fenring tests him using this mix of pain and seduction. You have to remember, the Sisterhood's ultimate goal has always been to carefully supervise and manipulate bloodlines over 90 generations to produce the Kwisatz Haderach, the ultimate form of power. Feyd-Rautha, he's their psychotic yet controllable backup plan, just to ensure that intricate bloodline is secure. Back on Arrakis, the escalation hits a complete boiling point. Feyd-Rautha doesn't play by any of the old rules. The Harkonnens unleash devastating old-fashioned artillery fire directly onto Siege Tauber, literally melting the rock right above their heads. With the north heavily compromised and so many lives lost, the Fremen are forced to abandon their home and retreat into the impassable southern storms. And Paul knows exactly what's waiting for him in the Deep South. Millions of religious fundamentalists whose fervor has been heavily stoked by his mother. Driven right to the edge by the impending war and these horrific visions of a future galaxy starving to death because of him, Paul takes a really desperate step. He drinks the fatal water of life to fully unlock his prescient mind. And while his body is literally fighting off the poison, his mind opens across time, unearthing a horrifying, mind-bending truth about his own family tree. Jessica is the daughter of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Yeah. Paul realizes the bloodline that Bene Gesserit have been manipulating connects him directly to his greatest enemy. Armed with this brutal truth, he accepts it. To survive, they have to be Harkonnens. Fully awakened and abandoning all that previous hesitation, Paul just strides right into the Southern War Council. He drops the humility entirely. He violently seizes command, terrifying the unbelievers by literally reading their deepest, darkest pasts aloud to the whole room. He declares himself Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis, and leans fully into the prophecy, proclaiming he is the voice from the outer world, promising to lead the Fremen to a green paradise. The fundamentalists are completely galvanized at this point. They have their Mahdi. So when the Emperor himself arrives on Arrakis with his elite Sardaukar army to personally handle this crisis because he's furious at the Baron's incompetence, Paul executes a staggering multi-stage ambush. First, he uses those hidden family atomics to completely obliterate the mountain ridge protecting the capital. This lets a massive great-grandmother of a sandstorm just tear into the basin, shorting out the Emperor's shields. Under the cover of that storm, Paul's Fedaykin fighters attack head-on, riding massive sandworms right into the fray and completely annihilate the Imperial defenses. In the chaotic aftermath inside the Emperor's residency, vengeance is incredibly swift. Paul executes the Baron. Then he faces the Emperor. In a devastatingly cold political maneuver, Paul demands the Emperor step down and offers to marry his daughter to secure the throne. And the kicker? He does this mere moments after promising Chani, the woman who grounded him this whole time, that he would love her as long as he breathes. It's just a calculated, ruthless move that completely breaks Chani's heart but secures his absolute political dominance. But there's a massive problem still lingering up in orbit. An entire armada of the Great House's warships has arrived, representing a full-scale planetary invasion. Facing this overwhelming force, Paul executes a desperate, truly terrifying bluff. He orders Gurney to send a simple message to all the ships. If the Great Houses attack, Paul will use his remaining atomics to permanently obliterate all the spice fields on Arrakis. He leverages the ultimate threat. Destroy the spice, and you destroy the galactic economy and space travel itself. The Emperor's final, desperate defense rests on a brutal, honor-bound tradition. He names Feyd-Rautha as his champion. So the fate of the entire universe comes down to a terrifying knife fight between Paul and his psychopathic Harkonnen cousin. It's a vicious, incredibly close duel where Paul is severely wounded, but it ends with Paul narrowly sliding his blade into Feyd-Rautha, slaying his rival and completely eliminating the Bene Gesserit's alternative prospect. Defeated and totally out of options, the Emperor actually bows down and kisses Paul's ring. However, a transmission from orbit brings some chilling news. The Great Houses utterly refuse to honor Paul's ascendancy. They reject his claim to the throne outright. Paul, now fully transformed into the ruthless leader he once terrified himself by dreaming of, doesn't even hesitate. He turns to his loyal, fanatical legions of Fremen and gives the chilling command, lead them to paradise. As Chani walks away in defiance, heading back to the desert completely alone, the Fremen board the captured ships to launch their massive, zealous assault against the Armada. The terrifying visions Paul had in the desert have literally come to life. The Holy War has officially begun. And as this unstoppable, fundamentalist force spreads out into the stars, we are left to wonder, what catastrophic horrors will this unstoppable crusade bring to the billions of souls across the galaxy?